Greetings. This is Justin Allen with the Elite Nurse Practitioner. Welcome to the Elite Nurse Practitioner Show, podcast dedicated to nurse practitioner entrepreneurism and achieving financial freedom, where I talk directly with nurse practitioners who need help. Listen up, our market is saturated. Jobs can be scarce. We are underpaid. We are undervalued. We are taken advantage of by the sharks within the healthcare system, and frankly, screw that. I'm sick of it, and it's time for a change. And listen, I'm here to help make that happen. We are powerful. We can forge a path where we are in control of our career and ultimately our financial and personal well-being. You do not need to submit to healthcare administrators and your doctor overlords. You do not have to take a measly salary. You do not have to work 50 to 60 hours a week. There is a different way, and I'm here to show you that path. This podcast is raw and unfiltered. I have not talked to the nurse practitioners in this podcast prior to the call outside of an email exchange to schedule the episode. What you're about to listen to is a consultation session between a nurse practitioner and myself. It is real, it is unscripted, it is unplanned, and I have no idea what we're going to talk about. Anything and everything can happen during our conversation. The nurse practitioners in these episodes are struggling with an issue in their professional or financial life, and they have reached out to me for help. My goal is to help the nurse practitioner with actionable advice that will enhance and improve their professional, business, and financial life. My other goal is to hopefully help my nurse practitioner sisters and brothers build a more productive, powerful, and free life. So I hope the content and information within these podcast episodes does just that. All right, onto the episode. Hello, everyone. Today we'll be talking to Jacqueline, who is a family nurse practitioner. Currently, she is working full-time as a hospice nurse practitioner. She started an acute care practice about 2 years ago, focusing on mildly urgent healthcare needs. She's needing assistance with expanding her service lines and is interested in providing men's health services under a DBA to expand her practice and increase revenue. Hey, Jacqueline, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. Thanks for hopping on here. So let's jump into it. Bring us up to speed with where you're at.
So I've been a nurse practitioner since 2014. I'm a family nurse practitioner working full-time in hospice and palliative care. And I do have a small part-time business that is non-urgent needs, kind of things you would go to Minute Clinic for, putting out fires, so to speak. And it's really kind of not been doing well. Now, I haven't been as aggressive with advertising as I need to, but I have done some. And I'm blessed to have a good place where I can go to a pharmacy and borrow an office room if I need it. I can do front porch, I can do telehealth, but it's just not off the ground. So I really want to add men's health and see if that's a better fit for me and for this community.
Gotcha. Okay. So tell us about this business that you started. So it's just more like a little convenience care kind of a thing. I mean, how's business been? You've been open for a couple of years now. So
Yep. And it's not doing good at all.
Not doing good.
Not at all. No.
Yeah. You know, these little Minute Clinic kind of things, I mean, they, especially cash pay, they don't really work out that well. I
do accept Medicare, and I have to because I accept Medicare at my current position, so I can't really opt out. And I've mostly been seeing older patients. This was supposed to be something that would be kind of for the 30s, 40s, 50 generations, and I'm not seeing those folks.
Right. You know, if you accepted all major healthcare insurances and that kind of a thing, you probably would be a little busier. But, you know, it being cash pay, these little sick visit kind of things just really don't, they just don't work out well. The big thing that you need to remember about it is that when you're doing sick visits, it's a one-time transaction with the patient, right?
Right.
You only see them one time, they pay you, they leave. You might never see them again. You know what I mean? Or maybe just once a year for strep throat or whatever, you know? There's no recurring income with it. And so it's very hard to build a profitable practice doing that because unless you're seeing 20, 30, 40 patients a day, then it's pretty profitable, right? But that would require an actual like urgent care building and taking insurance and that kind of a thing. So with a cash-based model, you want to do things that are a little bit more recurrent. You know what I mean? Like you want the patient coming back month to month, paying you every month. You know, they basically are going to be a long-term patient, right? So I think expanding into men's health is probably a good idea because that's how it is. Like once a man gets on testosterone and starts feeling better and that kind of a thing, I mean, they're going to be a patient for life. So that means you have recurrent income, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's, so I think it's a good idea. Well, let me ask you then, are you wanting to keep this acute care kind of a thing or are you just wanting to start?
I'm going to do it as a DBA because that's easier. But if it comes up off the ground like I would like for it to, then I will probably phase out
the convenience care stuff. You'll just phase that out.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I mean, if you've given it 2 years and it's just not really gaining a whole lot of traction, you know, sometimes you just got to count your losses and move on. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, if you already have an LLC and that kind of a thing, then yeah, you can just do a DBA for the men's health. There's really no need to form another LLC if you don't, if you don't want to. So, is the name of your LLC kind of generic?
Front Porch Wellness. So
Yeah, okay. And so, are
it's not anything. I've heard you talk before about kind of rolling the name, kind of having a synonymous name. That's not really going to work. So I come up with a couple of names, just kind of basic, optimal male, and that kind of
Right,
thing.
right, right, right. So, I mean, if Front Porch Wellness LLC, I mean, yeah, you can operate under a DBA under that, so that way you can keep the same business checking accounts and all that kind of stuff. Just
Right.
make your life simple. Yeah, so that's fine. So you're doing this house call, mobile telemedicine. Tell me about that.
Well, that was the original plan for the community care. What I hope to do for the men's health is to see patients initially, and here's where I guess I'll be learning this from your class, but see patients initially at the pharmacy office, and then provide telehealth care for follow up
For
and
follow
see
ups.
them.
Yeah.
How often I need to see them, I don't know.
Right.
Another question I have, kind of a strange question, but I do need to know this. There's plenty of staff at the pharmacy, and it may be where I can just kind of sub out and get some help. But if I'm having to do like actual physical exams and this kind of thing, I need to know that because I want to see if I can borrow his people when I'm there to step in a room rather than hiring out a brand new random employee to just show up after work this day and that day. People aren't really interested in full-time jobs right now, let alone something like that. So
Okay, so you're going to be subleasing a little room in a pharmacy, which is just fine. For a men's health
mhm,
practice, that you don't really need much more. That's why I love men's health. It's such a simple model and it's profitable.
mhm,
So, I mean, the course is going to go through, the men's health course, once you take that and go through it, it'll guide you through the clinical follow up and, how to actually do everything. Okay. So once you take the course, you'll
okay,
have a bunch of questions answered. All right. But yes, your line of thinking is correct. You could do, the first visit in person and then you can just do all the follow ups via telemed if you want. That's what I do. Okay. So I
gotcha.
see the patient first in person, mostly because I just like to shake their hand and I like to do an exam and I like to just, I like to meet the guy. You know what I mean? You don't have to. You can see them initially via telemedicine right now. We're recording this towards the end of 2022, and the regulations that were put in place by the DEA, stating that you have to see patients at least one time in person before issuing a controlled substance prescription. That was lifted during COVID. And
Right.
I mean, for the foreseeable future, it's probably going to remain lifted. I don't think that they're going to go back on that, but you never know. So if you set it up the right way, you don't have to really worry about it. If you see them one time in person, you do all the follow-ups via telephone call. Okay. That's what I do. I say I probably see 95% of my patients from a phone call for follow-up anymore. I mean, there's just no point in coming in. It's simple. Like, why come in and sit there for 30 minutes? It's not necessary. I mean, a lot of times these follow-ups are 10 minutes. It's simple.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, so you can definitely do that. Now, in terms of a physical exam and having someone, come in and be in the room with you during the physical exam, it's really not necessary. You're probably not going to be doing prostate exams or
Okay.
testicular
That was
exams.
my question. So yeah, if I don't
Yeah,
have to do any of that, then I don't need that.
you really don't need to unless there's, an issue prompting you to do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, but
Gotcha.
typically you don't need to do it because it just doesn't add that much value to the practice. It just doesn't. It's not necessary. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, why would you palpate a 30-year-old's prostate? I mean,
Right.
why? A PSA is sufficient. Yeah, so I don't think I would worry too much about that. What you're going to need help with though are, answering phone calls and filling prescriptions and just doing a lot of like more or less clerical administrative kind of work. Okay.
Hmm.
That's what you're really going to need help with.
I do have a separate telephone and line and all that I purchased for this business. So I do have a separate phone. I keep it with me
Okay.
so I can, unless it gets really, really busy, I can kind of handle that
Yeah,
for,
absolutely.
for the
Absolutely.
start.
Yeah, 100%. You could do it yourself for a while. I mean, I did. I answered the phone. My practices for the first, 6 to 12 months. I mean, that's just part of growing it. So if
Hmm.
you have the availability, you being a hospice nurse practitioner, I'm sure you're driving around a lot. I'm sure you probably have a lot of availability during the day to answer the phone yourself. That's not a problem. So you could probably get away with doing this without an employee for a little while. Okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's a very lean business. It's very low expense and high profit margin. So I think you'll really enjoy it. I think you'll really get a lot of revenue out of it. I think you'll see a big change compared to the acute care kind of thing that you were doing. You're going to be like, wow,
Hmm.
this is great. I'm making a lot of money and it's fairly simple. It's fairly low liability. It's pretty easy. So
Well,
Um,
not only that, I've done hospice and palliative for almost 7 years. You help people in a sense, but you don't ever really make anyone better. And
well, sure.
that brings you down, so it's kind of nice to think about, wow, I'm actually going to help people improve their lives. So
Right.
I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to that.
Absolutely. I mean, right. Someone's hospice. I mean, it's kind of it's the end, you know.
Yes.
I mean, you help them feel better and that kind of a thing. I mean, you're still doing something great, but it's fantastic. I mean, you get patients better. Like you see lab work, you know what I mean? Like you see their lipids improve, you see their
Mm.
A1Cs improve, you see their testosterone levels, like the actual labs, you see the numbers increase, and then you hear from the patients. My erectile dysfunction is gone. My libido is back. I have energy again. Like it's very fulfilling. So yeah, I think you'll enjoy that too. But employees, though, I say, we'll just cross that bridge when when it comes. You might be able to have like maybe one of the pharmacy employees, maybe help you a little bit here and there, but I don't think you're going to need all that much help.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I
So,
do have one question for you.
okay,
I wrote this down to remember to ask you about this. So, keeping in mind, this guy is my friend. I've known him since I was a teenager. He's not charging me to use this office at this point, and I don't think he has really any intention to.
perfect.
So, part of the profitability that I hear you talk about is the markup on the sildenafil. However, he's the pharmacist there, so I'm not going to be providing that. I'm going to be sending them around the corner and letting him fill that. So how much of the profitability is that going to take away from what I'm doing? Because I just kind of feel like that is the right thing to do since he's being kind to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a really good thing to do. I mean, the tadalafil, the sildenafil, the Cialis, Viagra, it's an additional revenue source. It's not the primary revenue source at a men's health practice. Okay. The primary revenue source is the testosterone, that and the monthly subscription that they're paying you for. They're paying you monthly, and included in that's going to be, the visits, the supplies, and the testosterone. That's the base level that practically every single patient's going to be getting. The
Okay.
tadalafil and the sildenafil are mostly just add-ons, and only 10 to 20% of patients will actually get that through you. So don't worry too much about that. I would estimate at my men's health practice we probably make maybe $2,000 to $3,000 a month off tadalafil and sildenafil out of $80,000 a month in revenue. So
Wow.
it's just
Wow.
it's a small fraction. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
great. It's a great little business.
Nice side biz.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. It's a side hustle, and we're making 80,000 a month.
Right.
I mean, that's revenue. That's not profit.
Correct.
But the profit margins are pretty solid, though. You should be looking at anywhere between 40 to 60% margin if you
All
do it
right.
right. If you follow the model, talk about the course, you charge appropriately, you keep your expenses as low as possible, operate a lean business, and you should be good.
And I have a lady who wants to help me with the advertising. She does really know what you call it, but basically she takes a certain area and does like an online analysis of the age group and the needs of and she makes sure that we're advertising in the right area basically. And she can fine tune that in the surrounding counties and all that. So she's going to help me with that part. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, perfect.
You know,
Awesome. Is that pretty much all the marketing you're going to do for a little while?
besides word of mouth through the pharmacist himself, because I did check with him when I first started thinking about this and said, well, how many questions are you getting about men's health? And he said like 40 to 50% of the men coming in there are asking about this kind of thing. So that's pretty
Okay.
good. That's a lot of
Uh,
interest.
100%. You're going to get a lot of patients from that alone. Marketing should be the number one function of any business.
Hmm.
As the business owner, in my opinion, I feel like it's a good thing to know and to know how to do, because it's the number one function of a business. Therefore, the business owner should understand how to do it on a basic level. Okay. And, it being the number one function of your business, by that, I mean, you have to drive business into your business. You know what I mean? Like the
Right.
volume has to be there, patients coming in, paying, like that's what's important. And so that's your job as the business owner, is to focus on what drives sales. Okay. And marketing does that. Word of mouth is marketing. It's part of it. Okay. This pharmacist is almost like a influencer in terms of your marketing goes. Like he is basically, he's a referral source, right? So that's another arm of your marketing plan. And then this girl's going to help you out. That's another arm of it. These are all cheap and, essentially free. So I would really, really try to focus on that, develop those relationships, and make sure that it's actually working. If it is, you might not have to spend much money on marketing at all. I mean, once word of mouth starts snowballing, you really don't have to do much.
I did look around. I mean, most people that are having these kinds of needs, unless they're getting it from their primary care, they're having to go at least about 40 minutes up the road for anybody specializing in this. There's just nobody right here in this community doing it. So I think that's kind of a
Oh,
bonus.
oh yeah. You're sitting on a gold mine here. I mean, if there's no one else doing it, you're going to do very well. I guarantee you will. Yeah. I just don't see how you couldn't. All right. I hope everyone's enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick break to thank everyone listening and also give a big thank you to all of my social media followers and email subscribers. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our email list at www.elitenp.com and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Email subscribers will receive updates on new weekly podcast episodes, multiple weekly articles we publish, new courses, and everything else related to helping you succeed. Remember, all Elite Nurse Practitioner courses are designed to help you build a niche practice, increase your financial strength, and to break free from the rat race. If I can break free and that other countless nurse practitioners can break free, then so can you. Additionally, please share this podcast with your other nurse practitioner sisters and brothers out there. The more NPs that venture out on their own, the stronger our profession will become. Now, let's get back to the episode. So what I'm thinking from a marketing standpoint here is that do these three things because it's basically, it's extremely cheap. And then make sure you have a Google business listing. Okay, it's critically important. So you definitely want one of those. You want to be able to be found easily. Okay, so make yourself as easily found as possible. And really, that's by having a good quality website and having a Google business listing. Don't skip out on that, okay? Your website is part of your marketing strategy. You have to have a good website.
I have a great website currently, and I've already reached out to my website designer and told him, look, I need like a link, like a button, and he's like, well, send me an example. I don't really know what to send him. I'm like, well, for now, we're not redoing the whole website. I need people to be able to go to that and pull up the Men's Health. So we need to talk about how it's going to be, but he's willing to do that. And hopefully that'll work out well.
Yeah, so just make sure that website's updated to the Men's Health thing, okay? In terms of the acute care, convenience care, that kind of thing, if it was me, I would just completely scrap it from your website and everything. I would just start from scratch with it, okay? Like you need to do a DBA like we were talking about, doing a business as just under that LLC. So basically, you are essentially renaming your practice. That LLC name doesn't even matter anymore. It's just more or less for legal purposes. Okay. There is an article on the Elite NP website. So go to the Elite NP website, click all articles, and there's a search function there. Type in DBA. There's an article there where I talk about how to actually do this.
Okay.
Like the steps and the logistics of how to do a DBA under an LLC. So follow those steps in that article. Okay. But the website's important. Make sure that it's basically rebranded completely, a new domain name. Okay. The domain name needs to be whatever menshealth.com or something. Okay. And then the website needs to be then basically it's a men's health practice now. So, everything needs to be listed on the website, the services that you're offering, the symptoms of low testosterone, the benefits of testosterone replacement therapy, those kinds of things. At the end of this call, I'll shoot you over a link to my men's health clinic site. And so if you want, if you want, you can have your web designer or whoever. I mean, I don't care. You can pretty much just copy it. So anyways, though, but I think that you're rebranding it. Okay. So just get that in your mind.
Okay.
The convenience care, acute care stuff, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'd say just scrap it. I wouldn't even fool with it.
That sounds like a good plan. It's just, 2.5 years. Come on.
Right. Just scrap it, count your losses and move on. I mean, my first practice was kind of a failure and I just kind of scrapped it and moved on. Okay. So that's business. Sometimes your first business doesn't do that well, but you getting back up and redoing it and restarting another one, that's what makes you successful. So what you're doing is a good idea. A lot of people give up after the first failure and then they wonder why they're never successful and why they're never getting ahead. So, just scrap it. I'm sure you learned a lot and, pivot from it and start this men's health practice instead. I think it's probably a really good idea, a really good move.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I am.
Yeah, it's a great practice. I think you'll really, really enjoy it. I think that if there's no services like this in your area, I think that I just don't see how it could fail. I don't. It's in demand. People want it. There's large telemedicine practices, that do offer, these things. And a lot of people get scared about, there's a lot of competition and I'm worried about, that. Don't worry too much about that if you've had that fear, because men really, really like local, and they would much rather support a local business versus some nationwide telemedicine practice. So,
Right. And this pharmacy has been in this community. It's a family pharmacy. It's not it's family owned. It's been in this community for like 75 years or something. Very well known, right across from the hospital. It's a good location. It's great reputation. So I'm
perfect.
excited about it.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, you're going to get so many patients from just that, so that's one hell of an asset you got here. So you're definitely fortunate for that. Do you have any specific questions about anything else?
I think you really answered everything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's a short call. And I think
Yeah.
that you're pretty much on top of this. Like, you're not complicating this. So that's good. You're not complicating it. People overcomplicate this stuff. It's not complicated. So I think once you take the course, you get everything, all the steps and everything, I think you'll be able to hit the ground running. I think you'll be able to probably get this open within a month if you wanted to.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah. There's nothing to it. It's super easy. So, well, do you have any other questions or anything?
I do. That's right.
Okay.
I do. So I'm with this company. So it's a nurse practitioner owned company who does the EHR and billing and all of that. All right. So I've had some issues with them, and I just wanted to kind of go over that with you because I'm still working with someone there who is trying to help me get paid for stuff that was billed like last June. This was through Medicare. These people charge 15.9%. Okay.
Of collections?
Yep.
My
They
goodness.
do.
No, absolutely
I
not.
know. Yeah, it's very, very high, and it's like pulling teeth, getting information. It's kind of the runaround, and well, this isn't in here, and this hasn't been uploaded. Yes, it is. We just keep going around and around. It's not been a good experience. So I definitely need. I don't want to do my own billing. I've got to have some, program that's EHR billing. So what do you recommend?
Well, you're scrapping this, so why worry about it? Men's health is cash only. So like, why even fool with it? I mean, it sucks that you have, outstanding, claims out there for insurance, but that's welcome
Right.
welcome to insurance hell. That's just
Right.
that's part of it. That's why screw insurance. That's why I say don't fool with it. You know what I mean? Like
Well, even though it's cash, though, I will like if I have men who have Medicare, I have to accept
No, you don't.
because you don't.
No,
Oh,
you don't. There are ways around that. Okay.
okay.
Yeah, there are ways around it. And listen, the majority of your patients aren't going to have Medicare, so don't worry about it. Okay.
Okay.
Like most of
Yep.
them are going to be between the ages of 30 and 50. All right.
Okay.
So don't worry too much about it. You might have a couple patients here and there that might be over the age of 65. Listen, Medicare doesn't cover concierge care. It's not a covered service. So as long
Okay.
as you are not providing covered services, you can charge a
Mhm.
Medicare patient cash.
Okay.
This isn't covered. I mean, unless their
Gotcha.
testosterone is legitimately under like 250 total testosterone. Okay. If it's under 250, then it could be considered covered by Medicare.
Gotcha.
If it's 251, Medicare doesn't cover it. So it's not covered. Does that make sense?
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So honestly, don't worry too much about it. I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah. If you go to the Elite MP website again and go to the all articles, you're going to search for DBA, type in Medicare as well. There's actually, there's an article there where I kind of break it down. So don't,
Are you talking about paper charts? Is that what you're talking about? No EHR? Just scrap the whole thing, or what do you recommend?
Well, for EHR, for a men's health practice, I mean, you could do paper charts if you want, but it's kind of, it's inefficient. I would do an EMR. Something simple. I mean, you don't really need anything complicated here. Something like OptiMantra is pretty good. It's one of our preferred vendors. So if you go to the Elite MP website, click on the Elite MP GPO at the top there, and there's a list of vendors there that provide Elite MP members discounts. And so you can sign up for all those vendors right there. I mean, I have it all right there for you. You can use those vendors for practically everything: EMR, pharmacies, medical supplies, whatever. Okay. So there's a preferred vendor there for an EMR. It's called OptiMantra. They're a pretty good, it's a pretty good EMR. You can also use something called like Simple Practice. That's a really, really super simple EMR. It's like $60 a month. It costs nothing. Don't worry too much about it. I mean, an EMR is not really, it's not that important. It's really not.
Okay.
Just get something and just go with it. You know what I mean? As long as they can chart, as long as you can document your visit, I mean, that's really all you got to do.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
You're welcome. I like to end the episodes with you asking me a question. If you have a question for me at all.
Not really. Yeah, you answered everything.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. So yeah, keep me up to date. And then if you have any other questions, just shoot me an email. I appreciate you hopping on here.
No, I appreciate your time so much, Justin. I do.
All right. Well, thank you very much. You have a good day.
Yep. You too. Thank
All
you.
right. Bye. All right, I hope everyone enjoyed the conversation with Jacqueline. It was kind of a shorter podcast, but that's great. She's keeping this simple. That's what I want to talk about real quick. Don't complicate this stuff. It doesn't need to be complicated, okay? When you start a practice, follow some basic steps, and it doesn't need to be complicated. She's focusing on the right questions. She's focusing on the right things. Doing the DBA, marketing, getting patients through the door. All right, that's really, really important stuff. This is the thing that you need to prioritize when starting a business. You need to prioritize patient acquisition, okay? Patients coming in the door. Got to get people through the door. You have to have revenue to operate a business. If you don't have revenue, the business is going to close, okay? You can't be sitting there working for free. And then another thing is obviously patient care, safety. Prioritize those two things. That is what's important. What EMR you use or, what the font on your website is, like these things don't really matter that much. Get the patient through the door, see them, prescribe them, charge them, and that's pretty much it, okay? So keep things simple, all right? All right, well, I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. Talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye. Thank you for listening to the show. Quick legal disclaimer. The content of this podcast is meant for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be used as legal, financial, medical, regulatory, or practice-specific advice. For information pertaining to your specific legal, financial, medical, or practice-specific needs, please be sure to consult with your lawyer, CPA, medical director, and/or your state's practice laws and the most up-to-date clinical guidelines. As always, do your due diligence when it comes to any information found online and in podcasts. The content in this podcast is copyrighted by Galaxy Medical Southwest 2022 and cannot be duplicated, rebroadcasted, or reproduced without our written permission.